Now that it's clear George Janko has been removed from the Impulsive podcast, fans are wondering what is the actual reason. Is it on Logan's side? Is George going to expose the Impulsive cast? Since the past couple of videos we've made on the situation, a lot of new information has come to light which you guys need to check out. Had Logan Paul had enough of George's antics, or did something happen behind the scenes? Be sure to stick around till the end of the video for the full details. Fans were very quick to realize that last night, the Impulsive Clips channel released a shorts video titled Boys Only Episode Tomorrow, which many assumed would be Logan, George, and Mike like it has always been in the past, and well, the fact George isn't anywhere to be seen 100% confirms he has either left or been kicked off the show.
You know why it's annoying? I'll say it. Because I was supposed to fight Nate. He goes and fights my little brother instead, and then chokes out my lookalike in the street.
I'm just doing this for a couple weeks so then I could leave and clickbait while I left Impulsive.
We even called this in the previous video that Jeff Wittek will most likely replace George, and it's literally happening as we speak. In the Impulsive podcast they post tonight, it will be interesting to see if they address the issue at hand, or just joke around and ignore it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the post notification bell. This way, you'll never miss out on any future celebrity videos similar to these. If you would remember, back on the 25th of April was when George tweeted out, "I wasn't going to talk, but now I am." And we're yet to see anything come into fruition from that post, other than George replying to a person in the comments of the Bryce Hall podcast, which was when someone commented, "Address Impulsive," to which he replied, "Trust me, I'm working very hard on this." All the comments underneath the shorts clip Impulsive posted were about George, with stuff like, "The funniest thing about George leaving Impulsive is that his podcast prominently promotes Celsius sparkling water. I can't believe George is no longer on Impulsive. He was such a nice guy. This sucks. Oh, George Def left the podcast." It'll be interesting to see how Impulsive fares without him, and if he will be replaced by Jeff Wittek, or to be fair, just Logan and Mike could do the podcast and still do well, as fans noticed with the Kevin Hart episode they recently put out. Tana Mongeau, a guest on Janko's own podcast who briefly dated Logan's brother Jake Paul, contributed to the evidence gathered by fans in a recent episode. At the end of the podcast, Janko and Mongeau mocked the notion of reuniting the Impulsive trio with themselves and YouTuber Jeff Wittek. Mongeau joked, "Or me and Jeff can have you right on Jeff FM and we'll have the new Impulsive. Watch out, Logan. Watch out, Mike. New trio." Janko responded, "That would be fucking hilarious. But can you just do me a favor? Put me in a spot where no one looks at me or talks to me so I feel like how I used to feel." Since Janko started his own podcast, he's had a number of guests on, but the majority have already been on Impulsive, and it'll definitely be a lot harder to get bigger guests on, which will be interesting to see how it holds up over time. The viewing figures per episode are strong at around 100,000 plus, with many positive comments such as, "George, I respect you for standing up for yourself. I misunderstood you, and now I admire your tenacity. The inertia is there. I'm really impressed on the guests George is bringing on. This podcast is fucking quality. Crazy to see how much Impulsive was holding you back." A lot of people believe it will be one of his biggest mistakes because of the platform Impulsive brings. Each episode is watched by millions across the world. Although now George has got a, yes, smaller, viewed podcast, but more engaged fans per episode, so in the long run it could be highly beneficial for him. Over the past month, since George has evidently now left Impulsive, he's been on Brendan Schaub's podcast and even had him on his. And he actually spoke about Logan Paul, and although they seem like they're on bad terms now, he'll always be thankful for giving him the opportunities across his career on social media thus far.
I found out about Vine through Logan. And so while he was doing this, I would like write skits for him or like other influencers, and all I would ask was like, "Hey, like, can I be in them?" And then through that, he like opened the door for me. So like Logan not only like taught me how to do it, but he also like opened the doors for all the other things. So like regardless of wherever me and Logan go, I'll always like my career, God gave him me to like, you know, like help each other.
He gave
like,
you your start.
Oh
your
yeah, yeah.
pad.
Which is good to see him say that because they've both known each other most likely a decade, as they used to do Vines together years ago and lived in the same apartment. So to fall out now over a podcast they done together isn't worth their entire friendship, unless George does come out and reveal that something was going on behind the scenes, because who really knows? George has had his fair share of great moments on the Impulsive podcast. From his entrance episode with 6ix9ine, where fans loved him, to the KSI one where everyone loved his comedic timing as he knew when to jump in with a joke and when to hold back. Well, as time went on and a few events occurred, it was clear his heart was no longer in the show, and his most viral moment was unfortunately his walkout on the Bobby Lee episode.
there are certain.
He is clocked out.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I know.
George has been under a tremendous amount of abuse.
No,
No, stop, George. I want you over here with me. George, I want you over here with me. Chase him down. Go. You find him. George, no, go get him. Go get him. I said this, he walked, and that's a first. And now we're going to have to deal with the fallout of this episode for the next 2 months. I swear to God, Bobby Lee, you pissed off my co-host. He's probably crying in the driveway.
Many individuals I've seen online play both sides. Some argue that he should have read the room and knew that a comedian is on the show and that opening up like it's a therapy session isn't exactly going to go over well, whereas others claim Bobby was acting immature and ought to have reacted differently. For those of you who have seen the episode, you know that they suddenly transitioned from lighthearted remarks to George talking about his darkest moments, which is a huge curveball for any guest, let alone a comedian who is known for slamming other purported comedians. I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts on how this entire situation has been handled. Did George make the right decision leaving the podcast, and if so, will you still tune in to watch Impaulsive? Comment below. Around a month or two after his happened, Logan Paul went on Bobby Lee's podcast, and they ended up calling George so he could apologize and so that the pair could move on from the situation entirely.
I want to apologize for my behavior on your podcast. I feel like I was a little...
Bobby Lee, you shut your mouth. I'm apologizing to you. I left you. You were our guest. And I left you, Bobby.
This is good.
I will forever regret that for the rest of my fucking life. There's not a day where I will lay my head on that pillow and not know that I disappointed a prince that does stand up like you. Do you have any idea how ashamed of myself I am?
Wow.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Of you?
Well, I'm gonna...
so sorry.
Thank you.
Please don't
Thank you
even
for saying that.
apologize to me.
But I want to pull back my apology then.
There was quite a mixed reaction, to say the least, from this clip, as some believed he didn't even need to apologize, and a lot of people blamed Logan for the entire situation. The biggest issue was that Logan said George is a comedian, which means Bobby's seen it as a chance to roast him with zero explanation. He also was pretty rude to George a few times without knowing it. It was great. Bobby made it easy for George to apologize by faking out his apology. Very socially smart. He's not ashamed. He's ashamed Logan had to be on Tiger Belly and he had no choice but to apologize. Otherwise, he would have reached out to Bobby himself. Anyway, this concludes today's video. Be sure to subscribe to LoafTube for future celebrity videos and turn on that post notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Until then, see you in the next one.